This is a 5-step framework to help you understand how to address conflict in a relationship. It's one of the first things that I teach couples in my private practice who are struggling with a lot of fighting and arguments. The point of this framework is to help you understand what it is that you're actually fighting about, because we don't get to solutions when our partner is the problem. We only get to solutions when the problem is the problem. And when you make your partner the problem, arguments quickly escalate into the blame game. And you know how that goes. Accusations go flying, old resentments get dug up, and there's a lot of hurt feelings flying around. I've been a couples therapist for close to a decade, and I've noticed a pattern, and that is that relationship conflict seems to fall into 5 different categories, and that is the SHARP framework that I'm about to share with you. The first type of conflict is S for schedule conflict. These are the types of conflict that arise from daily activities, namely around who was supposed to do it or who forgot to do it. The problem here is not about your partner being lazy or forgetful, although that could be part of it. But the solution is not about blaming them because your partner is not the problem. The problem is that the thing didn't get done. So any effective solution is a system that's going to help remember who's going to do what and when. Sometimes that's as easy as figuring out a reminder system or a calendar or a scheduling thing. Did you know that statistically speaking, most couples wait 5 or 6 painful years before seeking help in couples therapy? And during that time, couples get more ingrained and entrenched in patterns of conflicts that couples counselors like me have to help them undo. If you're in Los Angeles or California and you're looking for a couples therapist, I'll put the link to schedule a free consultation call with me down below. If you're not quite at that 6-year mark, stay tuned, because at the end, I'll reveal the last part of this framework, which is when you really need to be making a call. Number 2 of the SHARP framework is H, and it stands for how, and it's what I call process conflict. It's a disagreement about how we do things. It could be as simple as how we stack the dishwasher, because there is absolutely a correct way to load the dishwasher. Or it could be more complicated, like how we as a couple handle finances or how we handle parenting. As much as you have in common with your partner, you are 2 very different people who both have wildly diverse backgrounds and therefore very different ways of doing things. So getting mad at someone for not doing it your way is not helpful, and your partner is not the problem. The problem is that you haven't talked through a mutually agreed upon way of doing things. So the solution is not necessarily to blame them for not caring about how clean the dishes are, but instead to explore and discuss and listen to each other about each of your methods. Maybe you find a middle ground. Maybe you see the light and realize that actually that the dishes do have to be stacked in the correct sequence to come out clean. The next one explains why a simple disagreement in your relationship sometimes feels like it's about so much more than what it appears to be on the surface. Like, why are you yelling at me out of nowhere about always having to take the dog for a walk in the morning? If that rings a bell, you might be dealing with conflict that are about roles and authority. When we get into relationships, we slowly and unconsciously negotiate roles that we're okay with. So that might mean that I end up being the one in the role of doing the groceries on the way home from work, while you might end up in the role of being the one that cooks them. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to change roles, or not always wanting to do the cooking, or always being the one to take the dog for a walk. But when we're not aware that we want to shift roles, or even that we've suddenly ended up in a role, we can get cranky, irritable, and pick fights with our partner. It's like if you were an actor and every role you got, you're playing a superhero. But secretly, deep down, you actually want to do Shakespeare. No matter how good that Marvel money is, you would eventually end up frustrated and disappointed and cranky. So the solution is we've got to talk about our roles. I'd like more help walking the dog, or I don't always want to be the one who cooks dinner. The SHARP framework has helped us understand 3 different everyday sources of conflict or bickering, but the next 2 are a bit more significant. Not a lot of people realize that relationship anxiety is a massive driver for conflict in their relationship. The 4th layer of the SHARP model for understanding conflict in relationship is R for relationship anxiety. It's a little harder to explain because these fights are not just about the specifics of a single disagreement, who does what, how, or when. They're about a deeper current that push and pull beneath the surface of all relationships. They're generally about fear or concern that someone's pulling away, or the anxiety that comes up if you feel your relationship is not quite as close as it was, or if you're uncertain about the quality of your connection. To find out if you're at this level of conflict requires a bit of self-reflection on your part to see whether the conflict is really about whether your partner goes and plays golf this weekend or doesn't, or if it's about a deeper anxiety that maybe you're not spending enough time together, or a fear that you're drifting apart, or some uncertainty of what's really going on that golf course. Even more challenging is that you then need to talk about these feelings and about what's really bothering you. Sometimes the surface conflict is not really what's going on. You have to go underneath. The fifth type of conflict is personal. It might start with a small disagreement, perhaps at one of the other layers that we've talked about already, but it escalates into attacks on somebody's character or their self-worth or who they are as a person. When it gets to the personal layer, it's not just about being right or wrong anymore. It's becoming hurtful with insults that linger, jabs that damage trust and intimacy. These are the mean things that are said in the heat of the moment that are intended to hurt or devalue the other person. Recognizing that conflict has got to the personal level as soon as possible is the key to keeping your relationship healthy. And it's definitely the time to get backup in the form of couples therapy or relationship coaching. And if you're in LA, I'll make sure to put the link to schedule a free consultation with me. I'll put it in the comments below. When you're in this personal zone and you're fighting and you recognize it's got personal, just stop. There is no rational conversation going on when you're both heated. So take a break. Try and work out what it is that you're fighting over, which of the other levels of the SHARP framework it could be. Most often, it's one of the things in the framework. And then you have to dial it back from the personal level to get to the right solutions. If you're wanting more help with conflict, there's a course that I created that you can buy right now called the Conflict Compass. I'll put the link below. Or you could set up a consultation call with me and I'll put the links in the bio. My office is right here in West Hollywood. I'm close to Culver City, Beverly Hills, Beverly Grove, and I'd be happy to talk to you about what's going on in your relationship.